Leadership Nexus Assessment and Role-Aligned Leadership. In the previous video, we looked at the role of risk at each level of leadership, and we followed that with an examination of the negative forms of leadership and the impact these behaviors have on staff and coworkers. In this video, we will be looking at the Individual Response Workbook and discussing how you can use it with your clients. While the full workbook is designed to lay out the client score and how that score aligns with the 5 levels of leadership, the Individual Response Workbook is intended to provide both the client and the coach with a graph of the responses to each question. The responses are then grouped by level. You can use this report in conjunction with the full workbook to provide the client with a better understanding of how they are currently using their thought and action time. This report can provide useful insights into 4 different areas. Specifically, it can help the client identify areas of opportunity so that they can more productively balance their thoughts and actions. Look for areas in which they could be doing less of something in order to free up time and energy for other things. Look for areas in which they can invest more time and energy into more productive thoughts and actions. And make a personal commitment to invest time and energy into changing these thoughts and actions. Let's investigate this in greater detail. On page 10 of the full workbook is the graph of the client's score, as well as the score of a hypothetical client working at the client's level. This graphic provides us with information about how well aligned the client is with someone who is working successfully in this same role. As you can see in this example, this individual's alignment shows up in the moderately aligned area of managerial level 2. However, as a vice president, the expected alignment would more closely resemble a score closer to the blue dot in the strategic level. This is where we would expect a successful VP to score. The thought time score in this example falls in the high managerial level, level 2, circled below, and the action time is squarely in the middle of the tactical level, level 3, the triangle. So what we have here is an individual whose thought time and action time are somewhat misaligned, and both thought and action are below that of a successful VP. Clearly, this individual has opportunities to grow into the vice president role, and this is where the Individual Response Workbook is most useful. Let's begin with the thought time scores for the client. A quick glance at the individual thought time responses shows this individual spending quite a bit of thought time on 4 topics that are components of the transactional and managerial levels. First, focusing on how to keep operations running smoothly and problems to a minimum. Second, deciding how to keep the team productive and on task. Third, planning staff actions to implement strategies. And fourth, planning presentations and communications about next steps. Several questions immediately spring to mind. First, what's wrong with spending so much thought time on these areas? Second, how is this time helping this individual function as a vice president? Third, if he or she is spending this amount of time on these issues, who is not? And fourth, if he or she spent less time on these things, what could they have been spending their time on? The Individual Response Workbook is all about opportunity. When we look at the thought time responses for the tactical, strategic, and transformational levels, we see that the client has a variety of opportunities to shift their focus onto other areas. For example, questioning existing policies and procedures, evaluating strategic initiatives and how they can be integrated into relevant departments, contemplating how work in other unrelated areas could provide positive impact on his or her team, ensuring that the big picture maintains its prominence in the midst of crisis, thinking more creatively about how to bring transformational opportunities into the team or the organization, and creating more opportunities to build confidence in his or her vision and ideas. All of these are wonderful growth opportunities. Remember that the thought time scores are about the mental work that leaders, especially at higher levels, need to do in order to stay abreast of and ahead of the changes happening around them. Without this focus on strategic and transformational ideas, it is impossible to remain competitive and relevant. So the work for this individual and his or her coach on the thought time side of the equation is about how to go about shifting mental time from taking care of emergencies and helping staff deal with problems over to the bigger picture of strategic positioning, learning about advances in other industries that might have relevance, and building greater confidence in his or her abilities to operate successfully in this larger arena. How do we help them accomplish this? Take a few minutes to write down some of your thoughts and ideas. There are as many approaches to this as there are coaches and therapists, so use your own creativity to think through what that conversation could sound like. Now that you've had some time for your own thoughts, here are some of the approaches taken by our coaches. One possibility is to look at these scores as opportunities to work on overall creativity. How can we help this person shift their focus from the past and present into the future? What exercises could we promote that might free up the creative part of their mind? Letting go of the past and focusing on the future can be like stepping onto an invisible walkway across a canyon and trusting that it is actually there. How can we help them trust it? Another possibility is to look at their time management skills. If their time is being monopolized by dealing with crises, a time management approach might look at developing a stronger commitment to handing off these issues to a direct report and setting aside that time for other activities that are more reflective of their actual role. A third possibility is to use this as an opportunity to build the bench strength of the rest of the team. Teach them how to manage these crises and then get out of their way to let them handle it. The important thing to remember is that there are multiple ways to approach this type of internal change. Initiate a conversation with your client to find the right one for the two of you. Before moving on to the action time scores for this same individual, let's review the full score again. As we mentioned earlier, this person's action time scores fall into the level 3 tactical leader range, so we would expect to see fewer lower level actions here and more higher level ones, and indeed we do. For this individual to move into the strategic level, a level more representative of their actual position, we can first focus on some of the actions they might want to do less of, specifically taking care of the daily routine, handling a crisis, managing budget by tracking my unit's costs and adjusting expenditures as necessary, building relationships within the unit and with other units to coordinate frontline work, and managing personnel issues to keep the team running smoothly. How would doing less of these help this individual function at a higher level? Look at their focus: daily routine, handling a crisis, adjusting expenditures, coordinating frontline work, managing personnel issues. What do they have in common? Each of these actions requires the individual to drop down into work that should actually be managed by staff members closer to the work. This is the very definition of being in the weeds. Doing less of these actually has multiple benefits. First, it pulls this higher level individual out of the weeds. Second, it provides them opportunities to move these activities to leaders who are closer to the work. Third, it gives them opportunities to help other leaders grow and develop their own skills. And fourth, it frees them up to maintain their focus on strategy and forward movement. Additional benefits might include lower stress levels from recognizing that they're doing the work they should be doing, more appropriate focus on areas of their job that need more concentrated attention, the opportunity to grow and to develop staff members, and recognition from higher-ups of a greater attention to appropriate detail. Finally, freeing up time from tasks that could be attended to by others frees this individual to focus time and energy on challenging staff to find new approaches that improve or eliminate existing processes, making presentations to leaders from other industries that inspire them to partner with me to bring radical change to our industries, strategically growing and utilizing my contacts across diverse industries, and acting on my vision to implement radical change even when I receive significant resistance. These are all forward-leaning activities that stretch and challenge the individual to be more creative and operate at a higher level than before. You can use the individual response workbook in conjunction with the full workbook to provide the client with a better understanding of how they are currently using their thought and action time. Our goal is to help the client rebalance their thoughts and actions, find thoughts and actions they could be doing less of, find thoughts and actions they could be doing more of, make a personal commitment to invest time and energy into changing these. Used properly, the individual response report and workbook can help bring the Leadership Nexus alive for both coach or therapist and client alike. Thank you for joining me in this examination of the Individual Response Workbook. In the final video, we will be discussing the benefits of using the Leadership Nexus assessment with teams. See you then.